Hello again, everyone. I am Ranger Richard at Gateway Arch National Park. For the next 20 minutes or so, I will be taking you on a tour of some of the things that you can find in the night sky in June. Most of the things I'll be describing can be found with your unaided eye, even if you have a lot of city lights. If you can find a spot that's a little darker and has an open view, or if you can bring binoculars along, that can help. This tour uses the Stellarium planetarium program, which gives a pretty realistic version of the night sky and also allows me to demonstrate the motions of the sky. So now we're going to switch over to Stellarium. And here we go. You know, it's often good in stargazing to start in the western sky and finish in the east. This is because as the Earth rotates, the stars and planets in the west will get lower and lower and set first, while those in the east will rise higher and get easier to see. Go out about 30 to 45 minutes after sunset, or around 9 o'clock in St. Louis this month, and you should have no problem in finding the planet Venus as the bright star-like object low in the west-northwest sky. Hey, wait a minute. Where is it? There's a tree in the way. This tree. That reminds us that you need to find a spot with an open view to the west-northwest horizon to spot Venus. You can get there on foot or hop in your car, but all I have to do is to click a button to get rid of that tree, just like this. There you go. Although Venus will still be easy to spot if you have that open view, it's going to remain pretty low in the twilight sky for the rest of the summer, dimmed quite a bit by the sun's glare. The best part of Venus's evening show this year will be this fall and early winter. As the Earth rotates, it will get darker out and more stars will become visible. We'll show that now. Move ahead in time just a little bit. There we go. This is about 40 minutes later, and by this time Venus is setting, but the sky is darker. Early in June, you can still get a last glimpse of the Gateway Arch's counterpart in the sky, the Arch of Spring. The centerpieces of the Arch of Spring are the Gemini twins, Pollux and Castor, side by side in the western sky. If you have an open view to the horizon, the south leg of the Arch of Spring is formed by the star Procyon, and the north leg by Menkainen and Capella. You do have a pretty good arch there, I would say. Remember to find that open view and look early in the evening and early in the month. As you can see in this image, the celestial arch has an intruder this June, the planet Mars. Mars is on the far side of the sun now and shines only about a 40th as bright as it did when it was nearby last fall, but you can still spot its reddish-orange color if you look closely. As the moon revolves around the Earth, we could watch it emerge into the evening sky and pass first Venus on the 11th and Mars on the 13th. The moon will be coming into view. Yes, here's the 11th. I'm going to enlarge the view a little bit so we can see the moon a little bit better. Here we go. So the moon on the 11th, just to the lower right of Venus, very low in the sky. And then on the 13th, it's going to be pretty close to Mars. This thin crescent will be very pretty, and if it's a good clear night, you could notice the outline of the unlit part of the moon, faintly illuminated by sunlight reflecting off the Earth onto the moon and then back again. This is called Earthshine. Here is a picture I took of the Earth-lit moon last month when it was passing the planet Mercury. So we've already seen how Earth's turning and the moon's revolution around the Earth affect the sky. There is also the motion of the planets around the sun, which cause them to shift their position relative to the background stars, which are thousands of times farther away. Venus and Mars are having a race this June and July in the western sky. Which one wins? Well, let's see. Let's go back to where we originally started at the first of the month. Go backwards. Here we are back to June 1st. We can see that Mars starts out June well ahead of Venus. Chugging along in its orbit, Mars appears in line with the Gemini twins around the 8th, right about there, and then continues on. Since Venus is closer to the Sun than the Earth is, it takes 224 days, or about 7.5 months, to go around once. Since Mars is farther from the Sun than the Earth is, it takes almost 2 years, or 687 days, to do the same. So by June 25th, as we continue on, we can see that Venus is now the one that's even with the Gemini twins, and it's steadily closing in on Mars. We will witness the exciting conclusion of this race next month around July 11th. I won't give away whether Mars or Venus wins, but if I were you, I would bet on the one whose name starts with V. If you think about all this, it's pretty cool. All of these things, Earth's turning each day, the moon revolving around the Earth, and Venus, Mars, and the Earth revolving around the Sun, we can see them with this simple Stellarium computer program, or even better, in the real sky. And you don't even need any special equipment. That's one of the great things about stargazing. Now the next bright star to the upper left of Mars and the Gemini twins is the heart of Leo the Lion, the star Regulus. Let's go back into position here and get our landscape back so it's more like what you'd see in the real sky. Now, Leo is one of the constellations that looks a little bit like the thing that it's named for, if you have a dark enough sky or use binoculars to fill in the blanks caused by the city lights being too bright to see some of the stars. You can imagine this backwards question mark of stars forming the lion's head and front part, and then the triangle here making up the hind part and the tail. Do you have trouble seeing a lion there? How about this? I'll draw in the constellation lines like this. There you go. That's Leo the Lion. Or we could imagine how the ancients saw it, having the time to create their stories and legends about the sky. To the ancient Greeks, the constellation Leo represents the Nemean lion that terrorized the countryside. The god sent Heracles, known to the Romans as Hercules, to slay the lion. The mighty hero tried to shoot the lion full of arrows, only to find that they all bounced off. Finally, Heracles had to strangle the lion with his bare hands. After that, Heracles wore the lion's skin as his cloak, and both were placed into the sky to recall the event. We've covered all the action in the western part of the sky, so now we're going to shift our attention to the north. High in the sky are the stars of the Big Dipper, a plow to the British. 3 stars form the handle, and 4 form the bowl. All but 1 are pretty bright, what we call second magnitude, but the star that joins the bowl and the handle is dimmer at third magnitude, and it can be hard to see if you have too many city lights. Take a close look at Mizar, the star at the bend in the handle. Can you spot a tiny star named Alcor right next to it? I'll scroll in. There you go, you're starting to see it there right now. And there's a little tiny satellite going on the computer program. Again, if you have a good enough sky, you may be able to spot Alcor with your unaided eye. Otherwise, you'll want to break out the binoculars. A telescope will reveal that Mizar is itself a much closer binary star. As many people know, the stars in the Big Dipper's bowl, the 2 stars farthest from the handle, always point to the North Star Polaris. If you imagine a line from the center of the Earth through the North Pole and then out into space, it goes almost exactly to Polaris. Many people think that Polaris is the brightest star in the sky, but as you can see here, it isn't. It still is pretty bright at second magnitude, though, enough to serve as a great landmark. The stars of the Little Dipper curve upward from Polaris and are mostly hard to see from near to the city, but these 2 make up the guardians of the pole, and they're fairly bright. The Big and Little Dippers are not actually constellations themselves, but they're part of a larger pattern, the Greater and Lesser Bears. These patterns are very hard to see, but I'll bring up the animation again to show you the pictures that the ancients drew. You can see that the Little Dipper there, Ursa Minor, has a very long tail. Now, as I talked about last month, you could use the Big Dipper to help locate several more bright stars in the sky. If you draw a line not through the pointers, but through the other 2 stars in the bowl and go the other direction, we can confirm our identification of Regulus and Leo the lion, which I talked about a couple of minutes ago. Just like that. If you follow the arc of the Big Dipper's handle, you can also spot the very bright star Arcturus. We'll come around to see that. Get a little bit larger scale. The Big Dipper's handle, follow the arc to Arcturus, and then speed on, or some say spike, to Spica, 2 bright stars. Now, Arcturus is a giant star, pretty nearby as stars go, at 37 light years away. Spica is dimmer, but still bright, and it's 250 light years away. So the light from Spica left at around the time of the American Revolution, and it's taken that long to get to your eyes. So this is a case where appearances are deceiving. Although Arcturus looks about twice as bright as Spica, Spica would be about 20 times brighter if they were both at the same distance from us. You might also notice that Arcturus shines with a noticeably yellowish-orange tint, while Spica is white, maybe even tinged a little bit with blue due to their differing temperatures. Now there's another orange-colored bright star that you can find at this time of year low in the southeastern sky. And that is Antares at the center of the constellation Scorpius. The Scorpion is one of the most distinctive constellations in the sky, and I plan to talk more about it next month. My last stop in the sky tour is the east. Three bright stars in the east form the huge summer triangle, which I'll be talking about for the next few months. Vega is the closest to the Earth of the three, just 25 light years away. It's also the highest in the sky. Altair, lowest, 16 light years away, so quite close. And then Deneb is fantastically far away, about 1,500 light years away. And these three make up the summer triangle. They're still fairly low in the sky in the early evening in June, but they'll get higher as the night goes on. Before I go, I want to mention our next two Gateway to the Stars programs. On June 19th at 8 p.m., Mr. Joel Allen is going to be our guest speaker. He's going to talk about the lives of stars. He's a local astronomer and is a former park ranger at Bryce Canyon National Park, which offers some of the darkest skies in the United States, if not the world. I've sort of picked up the nickname myself of being the Sky Ranger. Well, those similar to me at Bryce Canyon are known as Dark Rangers. So this program should be a lot of fun, and it'll be followed by this video tour and then live or recorded images of sky objects submitted by members of the St. Louis Astronomical Society. There should be a great view of craters, mountains, and other features on the moon, and also other sky objects. Speaking of the national parks, our speaker for the July 17th program is probably the world's leading expert on the opportunities available to do stargazing and astronomy in the national parks. Dr. Tyler Nordgren will talk about this, and maybe he can help you plan on a tour of some of the parks now that it's beginning to be easier to travel around the country. Dr. Nordgren and his Space Travel Bureau have created some great vintage-style artwork for national park posters like this. I'm going to let the sky rotate some more to simulate the rest of the night. You can watch the stars of the summer triangle rise higher and higher as the night goes on. And then late at night, you will see Jupiter and Saturn appear in the southeast. Let's watch for them. There's Saturn, and then there's Jupiter in the late evening. As the hours pass and the stars continue to slide by, it starts to get light outside, and in this program, we can even make the sun rise. It's fun to have such power. I hope you enjoy the tour. We'll see you next month.